Jurnee Taylor, everyone. This segment was supposed to be about 4 minutes, according to our producer. I think we are well over that. Hello and welcome to Weatherwise. I am your host, meteorologist Nathan Scott. Last week, we got clobbered with a snowstorm here in Arkansas. It produced 9 inches of snow at Little Rock, but some locations saw more than a foot. We had reporter and anchor Jurnee Taylor go out for 5 hours, give live coverage of what she was seeing in her part of the region. We're going to be doing an interview with her coming up. But first, Tom and I, we discussed last Friday when all the official totals came in on who saw what and why that was the case. So here is what we learned.
It's all about weather this week.
That was the headline.
Yeah.
The headline was weather. First, it was severe weather down into South and Southeast Arkansas on Sunday, and we just really flipped the script quickly on that. And we had this big snowstorm. We knew it was going to be heavy snowfall, but a foot of snow and more areas than that in some locations.
I do want to go back just a little bit because I know that you see a lot of stuff out there. We knew that there was something that could occur.
Yeah.
Our main focus is really on what's going to be happening 3 to 4 days in advance. And well, there was some conversation about, we had severe weather in Arkansas. We had tornado warnings on Sunday. So you almost lose that side of that, but that's why we didn't talk a lot about this.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure you were covered in the severe weather department, and you worked Sunday. You came back.
I worked Sunday.
You were on vacation, came back, and look what happens.
I'm just like, what did happen? Come back from vacation from Maryland, and then all of a sudden, bam, severe weather, bam, snowstorm. I wanted snow when I was in Maryland. I left there. They get a snowstorm a few days after I left.
And it came back here.
And it came boomerang effect.
Within a couple of days. And it's been a very active weather pattern. So, sometimes you will get severe weather ahead of a strong storm system with cold air. And it's, the difference in those two air masses along with some winds aloft that bring the severe weather. So we've had a flip of the script. We're looking at colder temperatures coming in, and this has to line up just right. Was it the most perfect snow forecast for the whole state to get snow? It appeared that way, and then it got a little warmer in certain levels of the atmosphere.
Which we were concerned about.
We were.
I mean, if you were watching the streams, I always pointed out, Southeast Arkansas, freezing rain, potential of sleet, potential of maybe an all-rain event. I called out Ashley, Chico County, said it right around the Arklamis area. That came to fruition, and that's just because the models that we looked at downplayed how much warm air would sneak its way in. And usually models have a difficult time. That warm air is very sneaky, and I posted about that on Facebook as well.
I was really surprised at how consistent the models were a long way out in projecting that we would have something here at Arkansas.
Yeah.
And they were kicking back some big totals.
They were.
And we had some big totals, but let's start from the beginning, and we're just really going to talk about snow and the snow forecasting aspect of it. This was the last snow forecast that we put out before the storm really moved in and began to pile up. We try to keep it 1 or 2 or 3. We don't want to change every few hours because there's so much information coming at you. But that is fairly accurate with what I'm going to show you here in just a moment.
Yeah, we looked at the models. Some were flipping back and forth, bouncing the higher total in Southeast Arkansas that one time, and then all of a sudden the next run it shifted it back to the Northwest. And you're like, okay, is this just a bouncing ball back and forth, or is this a trend? There's a lot of information we really look at. I mean, we were looking at tons of data, trying to figure out how this whole puzzle is going to come together. But overall, I'm happy with the forecast. We got a heavy snow. It was impactful. A few inches missed here and there. It's not a big deal. I don't think there's a huge difference between 8 inches of snow versus 10 or 11 inches of snow when it comes to impacts.
Yeah, and we call these models by name. We've got the high resolution model, the HERB. We've got the Euro, the GFS, and to have those two models in agreement that far out.
Yeah.
And even following to the day of, they were in fair. The timing was a little off on a couple of them, but I got to say the big winner here was the NAM, of which we kind of thought was a little nutty at times, but it did put a large chunk of
It
snow.
had a swath of seeing potentially over a foot. And a lot of people, including us, were like, "Whoa, that's a little too high."
Yeah, what's going on here?
You know, and again, that was the one that was the outlier that put the bullseye in Southeast Arkansas just 24 hours ago. And now you're saying, "Oh, it's going to be a huge bullseye over Northwest Arkansas." Your mind thinks, you know, is that right? And you have to be cautious. We can't just go out on a limb and be like, "We're just going to do this," because if it doesn't turn out right, then we have, you know, what to pay for from the viewers, and we don't want that. So we're going to play it more cautious. We're going to look at more data and adjust as needed. We're not going to make these jumps and say, heavy snow coming 3 days out.
Yeah.
Because for professional meteorologists, that's just kind of foolish.
Yeah.
You lose trust, you lose confidence with people if it doesn't verify and you throw it out there 3 days out.
Yeah, we want to be as responsible as we possibly can. And, you know, there were twists and turns along the way, even up to the day of. It's like, why is this one doing this and this one doing that? And, oh, my goodness, what about this surge of warmth over southern Arkansas where it looked like, you know, in our original, it was a trace to 2 inches of snow. And those counties picked up more freezing rain.
Yep.
And the snow line really was a little farther to the north. All right, so you remember this. This is our snow forecast. This is the snow that actually fell. There it goes. Okay. And it's very consistent.
Yeah. No huge changes. I mean, other than this area that was in the core of a foot or more took up more real estate, pushed its way into Saline County, Perry County, also Pulaski County, and then it expanded more to the north into Searcy County, the Ozarks, and even the totals had to be adjusted into North Arkansas. And that's just because this warm air, as it was just surging its way in from the south, yes, it was bringing warm air for Southeast and South Arkansas, but that was forcing the air, once it got past that warm bubble, to be lifted and produce those heavier bands of snow. We saw bands of snow an inch per hour, maybe more than that in some of the locations. That added up very quickly. And also that first band of snow that came through with the onset of the storm.
Right.
I don't think that was expected. You know, usually you go from a light snowfall to a moderate snowfall, but that one band, it put down over 5 inches in Mena within a short amount of time.
And I remember that. So, and there was more to come. This was the afternoon, or the morning and the afternoon, evening, and then we had that next area come through. And we kept seeing the same thing in southern Arkansas. We're going to talk about this because we're very sorry that you didn't get any snow. But as the model forecasting went along and what was happening data-wise here, it just looked like it was going to be more liquid
and
wet.
I think, you know, the National Weather Service probably should have dropped those winter storm warnings a little sooner. But, you know, they didn't want to make that guess and be like, we're going to pull back and say it's going to be all rain, and then, bam, you got freezing rain, because there's such a minute difference. It's only 32 degrees or 33 degrees when it comes to rain or an ice storm type situation. That's very, very difficult, challenging forecast to figure out.
In all, I think most of Arkansas is very happy. We've had, and we'll show you some photos in just a moment, but people get out, they're in a good mood. It's toward the end of the week. You get a snow day Friday. You get a lot of snow to play with and drive in. That's something we don't like. But, you know, in terms of numbers for the Little Rock area, the most snow in January since 1988.
Yeah.
Here for Little Rock.
9 inches of snow. That's impressive.
And I do remember this one in 1988. I remember that
Over
one quite
13
vividly.
and a half.
That was,
It's the most snow since February 17th, 2021, when we had over 11 inches of snow. So we don't get these big snowstorms typically in Arkansas, but we've had a few of them since I've been here. I've been here for almost 7 years now, and this is definitely going to be one to go in the record books.
Sure thing. Real quick note about 1988. I was young then. I really was. I was actually working, and I was working in a nightclub, heading home. I was a disc jockey once, so I have a radio background. So driving home late at night and this fine misty snow started to fall. Exactly what you were describing a few minutes ago. Starts out light and then it picks up. Okay, got home great, but the next day woke up and there it was, the blanket of about a foot of snow on the ground with not the big fat wet snowflakes, but with those smaller medium-sized flakes. It was very cold and dry. It was a drier snow.
Just brush it off.
Yeah, you could just brush it off. With this, you go outside and you sink. So there's a couple of little facts for you. Snow amounts. Let's you start here with the highest around the state. Who's the big winner, Nathan?
The big winner is Mina, and we had somebody actually post on my Facebook page or our Facebook page that showed 17 inches.
Oh, wow.
Now,
okay.
I mean, that's proof. We'll send it to the National Weather Service. Might have to adjust that number from 14 to 17. But Briggsville, Yell County, 14 inches, 13 inches, Nashville, Lake Hamilton, Potter Junction. So it was the Ouachitas, and we had the Ouachitas under the best chance of seeing potentially a foot of snow.
Yeah. And let me ask you this. I mean, and I probably feel the same way. Would you rather put out a snow forecast like we did with, 5 to 9, probably going to see more than 9, or would you rather stick one out that's a foot to a foot and a half and you only get 6 inches? I mean, 6 inches of snow is still a lot.
Yeah.
But
there's a huge difference between
there is.
6 inches of snow versus a foot of snow, especially when it comes to driving. 6 inches of snow, you can get away with maybe in a Honda Civic or something like that if you're good.
Right.
If you're a good driver.
You're not going to get away with that in a foot of snowfall.
But yeah, no. You're done. You're stuck. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, only your those big vehicles, your Passports of the world, Highlanders, those machines that are all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
There's another part of this, Central Arkansas. We had a 5 to 9 inch line, and a lot of locations here in Central Arkansas got close to that 9 inch, and even a few just to the west of Little Rock, Perryville and Perry County.
And Tom, when we think about making snowfall forecasts, we're talking about a 1/10 of an inch of rain. And we don't talk about that during the summer. Like, it doesn't make a difference. A 1/10 of an inch of rain, 1/4 inch of rain here, 1/2 inch of rain, no big deal. But when it comes down to snow, that's 1 inch of snow, 3 inches of snow, 5 inches of snow, because 1 inch of liquid equals 10 inches of snow typically. With a wetter snowfall, those numbers are lower. It could be 1 inch of snow equals maybe 8 or 9, or 1 inch of rain equals 8 or 9 inches of snow. And then when you have really cold temperatures in place, you can have 1 inch of rain equals 15, maybe 20 inches of snow.
And that was kind of the case back in 2021.
Yeah.
We were seeing extremely high ratios.
Very much Arctic air was in place.
Before we move on to the next information graphic, let's go to Storm Track 11, because the National Weather Service has a nifty website that we can see where all the snow fell across Arkansas, where the reports are located. This is a big storm.
And anybody can look this up. All you have to do, I would just Google snow amounts or snowfall NWS. If you want more information to that link and also watch the full video of Tom and I discussing that winter storm, be sure to check it out on our YouTube page. We'll talk to Jurnee Taylor next about her experience in the snowstorm. Welcome back to WeatherWise. I'm meteorologist Nathan Scott, and I've got a special guest joining me right now, Jurnee Taylor.
Yes.
You were reporting out in the snow. I was enjoying the nice heat and didn't have to worry about all that white floating around and getting all soggy.
Yes.
So how was it being a reporter? I've done live shots out in the snow. It can be brutal at times.
Yes, it can. And you have to understand that we did Wake Up Central starting at 4:30 and we went all the way to 10 a.m. So we're talking a good chunk of the morning.
Yes.
And as soon as I woke up, 4 o'clock in the morning, I looked out the window and I said, whoa, okay, this is much different than what we knew at the beginning of the night. You know, before I went to sleep, I said, oh, that's nothing. I'll be ready to report on this. But when I woke up, we're talking several inches at that point.
Yeah,
and from 4:30 that morning all the way to 10, Nathan, I kid you not, something was coming out of the sky at all times. Sleep, snow, it was like consistent. And that is not something that I've consistently reported in over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have a little snow or we'll be out there after the snow fell down, but to have the snow coming down at all times was a challenge, especially with my hair, my makeup. Because what happens to snow once it melts? It becomes water.
Yeah.
And so my hair, my hair was wet. I mean, it was.
Were you prepared to be out in the snow, or could you have done better? better.
Yes. Let me say this. I did put on Facebook, hey, does anyone know where I can like find some, what's the name of the pants?
Snowsuit?
Yeah, like a snowsuit, last minute, because you would have thought I didn't know the snow was coming. But I could not locate a snowsuit. So what I did some thick tights, some pants, some fuzzy socks, and some rain-resistant boots, and a nice coat, about 3 coats or 1 coat and a couple underlayers, and a hat. And then I put the hand warmers in my hands.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And my feet. And then I didn't know the product also had a back warmer. So I ended up putting it on like the thinnest layer of t-shirt I had.
That's nice.
And I was good to go, only because, and you can maybe speak to this, I didn't feel like there was a wind chill. Like, it was kind of very still. The snow was coming down, of course, but I didn't feel like I was like, oh,
Yeah, this
freezing.
wasn't a wind machine.
Yeah.
We didn't have snow flying around in your face. It was a gentle type snow. It was heavy, but we didn't have the trees dancing around, drifts, or any of those concerns. When you have wind, then you can have snow drifts that can get 2-3 feet high. I experienced that as a kid, which is really cool to see. But also the snow drifts, the wind add a whole different element to a winter storm because of those wind chills. When that wind takes that body heat away from you, it feels much colder. I was in Tennessee back in the day, about 2012, and we had snow, and they had me do a live shot, and it was 0 degrees. And then the wind chill on top of that was like, I think 15, 20 below. Your mouth does not work. And then your saliva starts to freeze. And you're trying to do a live shot, and you're trying to be professional, but you're like, I can barely talk.
Yes, I actually have a video on my TikTok, my personal TikTok right now, of my time in Jonesboro when we dealt with an ice storm. And it was time for me to come back out and do my tag, my outro. And I could not get the words out. And I said, you guys, I'm sorry, my lips are frozen at this point. Like, it is a very difficult thing. And I don't think I really experienced that on Friday. Like, it was manageable. In fact, we went from 4:30 to 10, and I think by the time we made it to 8:30, I'm like, oh, we just have an hour and 30 minutes left. It felt like you can move through it and navigate through it, and that was the good news about it. And I think it made great for the children who wanted to get outside. And the families who wanted to get outside and play, because it was manageable. Like, you could play, and you could also stand and sit in this type of snow. Let me just add, I'm not a snow person, and that I signed up for this job, and that was the reason why I was out there. So
I think the next time that it snows, we want to see you on a sled, War Memorial Park, going down that hill.
Let me look at my contract. If the contract said, I signed the contract a couple years ago. Let me go back to this contract. If it says somewhere there, a Jurnee has to get on a sled because we said so, I'll do it. But let me just say, I'm not a fan of being wet, in a sense, like being wet from elements. And I think that was my, me being reserved on Friday. Like, I could tell you guys what's going on out here. I'm not going to show you as far as getting down and do a snow angel. And that was the great thing about, we had Brooke Buckner come in, later in the morning show, and she was down in the snow. She had her ruler, and I even told her, I said, hey, you're making me look bad. But she's the daughter of a meteorologist, so she loves this.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, put me in the house, put me in the studio.
And to be a reporter, to be on air 5 hours straight, you're trying to come up with creative live shots, not saying the same thing over and over again, but sometimes you have to, especially when it comes to the traffic reports, because you were also taking care of that. 18-wheeler actually got in trouble live on air. Yeah,
absolutely. Let me just say, while I did not get in the snow, we did talk about the scientific method, or the idea, the science behind brine and how they're using it. But yes, we were along I-40 there in North Little Rock, and I-40, if you go just a little east, that's where I-40 and I-30 meet. This is the busiest corridor in the entire state. So even with the snow coming down, or the ice possibility, we knew that traffic will still be coming through there, especially those truck drivers. And so I remember getting closer to the 9 o'clock hour. I think it might have been actually 7. And I looked over and I said, oh, there's an 18-wheeler. In fact, I said, oh no.
I remember that. I was getting ready for work.
I said, oh no, there's an 18-wheeler stuck. And I think what really threw me off, you didn't hear it. I didn't hear it at all. And that's what really caught my attention. It was like, oh, there's an 18-wheeler stuck. And just trying to go up that hill. If you're familiar with the North Little Rock area, this is JFK Boulevard. And you have that steep hill.
Typical trouble spot.
Yes, and the thing that was really entertaining for those watching and myself, they started to turn this truck around in a sense where it looked like it was jackknifed, and I don't know how they got their truck off the hill, to be honest, but they did. But it was very one of those, it can happen in an instant.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so happy that they're okay though.
So what would you say the best part of covering the system has been?
You know, are you setting me
You're
up?
not used to me interviewing
Yeah,
you or
I
being
know.
interviewed at all, right?
Okay, let me say this. I think the best part, and that's also why I'm just in the business, is truly giving people at home the opportunity to understand, feel, see, breathe what we're experiencing. And so for me, while I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big snow person. I'm not a big be in the elements and report on it, but I will do it. But that's what brings me joy, is being you get the chance to sit at home and truly enjoy the comfort of the warmth. And I'm here telling you, hey, listen, this is what's happening over here. Don't do this, don't do this. And I said it multiple times. I said it multiple times. In fact, I even made a joke that my mom said, hey, get somewhere and sit down, you know? You guys have the opportunity to sit at home while we do our job. And that's what it's truly exciting for me, is being out there saying, hey, this is what we're dealing with. You don't have to leave your couch. I'll tell you everything you need to know.
Lessons learned from this experience would be what?
I need a snowsuit.
Yes.
Even though it wasn't bad, but I need to be properly equipped.
Yes. You need to look like the Michelin Man.
Yes.
When you are covering snow.
Yes.
When you are out going sledding. That's basically the dress code.
Yes.
You got to be nice and warm, and it's all about waterproof. Waterproof gloves, waterproof pants, because once you get wet and it's cold, it's miserable.
Yes, it is a done deal. And I think that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave that to Brooke. Let me say, I got a little active. I was showing, especially with me being on the shorter end. I mean, a lot of people, they have me on the block here, but I mean, I'm pretty short. So I was able to really show like, hey, my feet are only coming a little bit out of the ground. The snow is pretty much up to my shins or close to it. So yeah, it was fun, but I did not want to get in the snow. I'll be honest.
What do you think about how Arkansans react to the system? Was it needed to clear out the grocery store?
Yes, it's always needed. That is an Arkansas thing. Let me say, I do think it's a bit dramatic, and how long I've been in the business, all of my stations have been in the South. But I have a friend who's from the South who went to school in Washington, D.C., so I'll go up there often, and I see how they react. This whole week while we had snow, they had snow as well.
Yeah.
She still went to church. She still went to work. And everything was normal, but us.
They'll clear out the grocery store though. Don't get
They
that
still
wrong.
will do it.
Maryland, Baltimore, yeah, they still.
Here's the thing: I don't blame Arkansans for reacting like that. I do think it's a bit dramatic, but we don't know what to expect. I mean, we're going to be back in the 50s this week, but who said that? How would we know? What if we get into this snowstorm and out of nowhere the whole grid shuts down? Now we're stuck at home, and so. I will say this, don't hoard and maybe buy 6 loaves of bread and all the eggs you see. But I mean, I'm gonna just give it to you. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to blame Arkansans. I know as a true Arkansan myself, you want to make sure you have everything you need. It is dramatic, but I know how we do. We don't know how to drive in this snow. We don't know how to react. So we kind of, just want to make sure we're prepared.
And that's the thing about driving. You have to be extremely cautious. There's certain rules that you learn when you grow up in the North of how to drive in snow.
Right.
I'm a good driver in snow, but I don't trust other people.
Exactly.
I have an SUV. It had no issues whatsoever
I bet.
with this.
In my little Nissan, it's me and it's me along with maybe 1,000 others in Nissan saying, hey, you know what, I'm about to get out here and get on this road.
Yeah,
we're just a little different down here, and I love my state. So we're still learning.
You don't see snow that much, and then you just don't have the crews like Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey has.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't take very long at all to clear off the snow. But I remember the blizzard of 1993. It was 20 inches of snow, and it took 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks we were off from school.
I couldn't imagine.
That was amazing. And then they were like, well, now you have to go into
summertime. Yeah.
So we didn't get out until like June 21st. And I was like, oh, okay, now we're paying for it.
Which it was so funny that you even said that, but because we're dealing with that now. You're seeing schools, some are in, some are out, some are like, we're going to do a half day so that we don't have to make this up on the back end. But I think it's tradition. I'm a product of Little Rock School District, and so we're used to going to school into the summertime. It is a typical thing. I think it's just easier for the schools sometimes to say, hey, rather be safe than sorry. Let's not get these kids out of this, and then let's just send them in the summertime. I'm happy to not be in school anymore, but hey, I get it. I'm understanding. I don't blame anybody. I understand. It's just crazy. You know, what is the phrase? Have you heard this phrase? If you don't like the weather in Arkansas, stick around. It's going to change tomorrow.
I've heard that, but
something
you
like
can
that.
use that for every
No,
state.
Arkansas, you got to understand.
Talk to people in Colorado. You look at their forecast. It could be 80 one day, and the next day it's 20 degrees. Same thing in Texas. So it's not just Arkansas.
It's Arkansas.
Arkansas doesn't have a special place in weather
Yeah.
of that scenario, but a lot of states. Just because you get away from the Gulf of Mexico, you get away from the ocean, you have more temperature extremes. Dakotas, Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, and this is why this is your segment. Teach us something, because
Yes.
as a true Arkansan, we're convinced that we're the only state that deals with this up and down, round and round.
Yeah, no.
And so, yeah.
Nope. Well, Jurnee, thank you for being
course.
here. Jurnee Taylor, everyone. This segment was supposed to be about 4 minutes, according to our producer. I think we are well over that. But
12 minutes.
Michael, the director, says it's been 12 minutes.
That's all right.
We can talk a lot. We probably could have our own show if we wanted to. We'll see if that goes
Let's
over
send
with
that
the
over
boss
to the
as
boss.
well.
Send the email in. Jurnee Taylor needs her own segment.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
For taking time out of your day to join me on
course.
Weatherwise. We'll be back with more after this. That's it for this episode of Weatherwise. As always, thanks for joining me. And if you have any questions about what you want to see topics-wise, you can always email me at nscott@thv11.com. Also, you can find me on my Facebook page. Just go ahead and Google THV11 Nathan Scott. It's easy to find. Next week, we'll have a brand new episode, so be sure to tune in. Have a great day.